Hey everybody, it's Elizabeth Elliott. Welcome back to my channel. I have two of my favorite human beings on my channel today. These are my brokers of Round Table Realty, Howard Flashin and Keith Francis. And I am bringing them on because, first of all, they're awesome people in general, and it's why I chose Round Table. They're also like really smart, and they have a wealth of knowledge, and I wanted to ask a lot of the questions that I ask them all the time, but on camera, so you guys can kind of see what it's like working with Keith and Howard, which is a lot sometimes.
Putting out a lot of fires.
So, first of all, before I got into real estate, I didn't even know what a real estate broker was. So, can you explain, and whoever wants to take this question can do it, what's a real estate broker versus a real estate agent for all the non-industry people?
So in essence, when someone gets their real estate license, they pass the test, they study, they can't just go out and start plying their trade, helping people buy and sell, huge transactions, huge assets, and try and buy and sell those without guidance. And so in the state of Florida, somebody has to work as a real estate agent for 2 years under a broker, the direct oversight of a broker to guide and answer questions and help them. And then once they have 2 years of that experience under a broker, then they could apply and pass the test to become a broker themselves. Now at Round Table, we have two of us. There's Keith and myself. So, I've been doing this for 14 years now? Something like 14 years, and he's been doing it for 14 years. So there's 28 years of experience from a broker for agents like yourself or any of the other agents at Round Table, because you only have the experiences of your deals.
Right.
And those problems and learning experiences will get funneled up to me or funneled up to Keith. And so what happens is through the collective experiences and knowledge, we'll always be able to help or ask questions, or we lean on our lawyers or our insurance company and things like that. And so through that guidance, a broker kind of helps the agent succeed.
The way I see it, they're kind of like my real estate dads, because the best way I can explain it is my parents, I'm really not good at staying in touch unless something bad happened. And they're like, no news is good news for Elizabeth. Like if we're not hearing from her, everything's great. I should be better about that. But when things are good, you don't hear from me a whole lot because things are good. But when things are bad, like you want to have brokers that have been doing this a while and have seen everything, or mostly everything, so they can quickly help me get out of a pickle, which is usually what the phone calls to Howard or Keith are about. So it's really
And there have been some pickles.
Yeah, there's been some fun pickles. That leads me to my next question. Why is having a great real estate broker important to my buyers? Because my buyers might not ever see you because they're working with me. So what makes you important to them?
When they're working with you, they're also working with the brokers, because you're asking questions of us of in negotiating a deal, like what is the best way to say this? What is not the best way to say this? What is the future hold in regards to the way this might play out? What's the leverage here? How do I ask for this? Right. And so when somebody has a great broker, and thank you, then that hopefully translates into you being able to be a better agent to them. And there are a lot of brokerages in the state of Florida, and many of them don't have brokers that you can reach like that and give advice and have two
and pull from our experience.
Yeah.
Of, the combined 28 years. That's important because we've been through different markets and some tips and tricks that we can give you to help align with your buyer.
Right. Two things that they said when I was interviewing several brokerages, and one of the things you guys said was, as brokers, you guys work to help me, which was like huge. I'm not a slave to a broker, but in turn, you guys are there anytime I need you. You're never out of pocket, and whenever I'm in a pickle, they're always so available. So things like in real estate can happen on a weekend or at night. That's usually actually when the crazy happens. At like 7 a.m. is usually when the other agent's calling me with an issue. And so I'm like on the phone with Howard sometimes at 8 a.m. standing outside a house going, oh my God, Howard, what do I do? Help me.
Well, and like you said, your client is your buyer or seller. Our client is you. we're a teammate to you. We work for you. I know that there are a lot of brokers out there that have different philosophies, but mine is that my job is to make sure that you're more successful and your transactions go as easy as possible. Which sometimes doesn't always happen, but
you know, Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law. Unexpected surprise for me today. We're at Maple Street Biscuit Company, which is right next to our office. Highly recommend. We also have a coffee card.
Yeah.
Like Round Table, if you want to work at Round Table Realty, ching, you should, because we get free coffee here at Maple Street Biscuit Company. And it's like a 2-minute walk from our office. But I was not expecting this. This is a mimosa, but with fresh squeezed orange juice, which like, I don't know if I've ever had a mimosa with fresh squeezed orange juice. Like, this is really, and look at the size of this sucker. Like, we're set for a little bit. So it's really, really good. And they have other flavors too, which you might see me with a different color mimosa later on in this video. So we'll see. The other thing that was really cool when I was talking to you guys was the knowledge of the contract. Okay, because when you're a new agent, you're still learning the contract. And I think all agents should continue to learn the contract every year and refamiliarize themselves with it. But Howard is like so in tune with the contract that if I have a question like, can we do this? Is this allowed? Like, Howard knows the contract better than anybody in Northeast Florida.
I'm always shocked that when I do a contract class, even with agents that have been at the brokerage a while that come from other brokerages, they're just blown away. Like, wow, I did not know that. I never knew that. And there's these little intricate things in the contract that are these little landmines and pitfalls and things like that that catch people all the time. They're like, whoa, I had no idea. And so, yeah, we definitely pride ourselves on being kind of the contract knowledge gurus, for sure.
I won't say where I was before, but I never met my broker. Like, it was hard to even get a hold of that person. And, you know, I will say I was on a team, but again, the team lead doesn't have to be a broker or a broker's associate. And even that person can be out of pocket sometimes. So just the depth of knowledge here is so deep, number one, but you can have deep knowledge and not be able to contact your broker. So the combination of those two things is having all of that knowledge in my back pocket, but also you guys having such great relationships with your agents and being easy to reach, and also you're just fun to work with. So all of that stuff is good for me. Okay, so then I want to go into what makes Round Table different than other brokerages. Because would you call us a boutique brokerage? Because we're not a chain.
Well, so we're an independent brokerage. I like the word boutique, even though we have 85 agents and we're in the top 20 of real estate brokerages in Northeast Florida. But I like the word boutique because it kind of gives you that more hands-on feel from the word. Keith and I are available all the time.
Even to agents not in our brokerage.
Yes, I do guide agents at other brokerages too. But I think one of the things that we do differently is, you know, and it boils into our kind of coined phrase, which is people before property. And that's agents, you're a people before a property to us. And you have people before property. And everything we do is from that genre. You know, one of the things we can't stand is brokerages always do top lister awards and top sales awards and things like that. We just think it's focusing on the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
And we really want to focus on each individual person and what their wants and needs are. And I think that does make us different, for sure. I think having us two brokers that are full-time, available all the time is certainly unique. We have really high-powered technology in our brokerage, and all of these things add up to kind of a portfolio of things that we offer our agents and offer Northeast Florida that is different than a big box.
Right. Some brokerages, they push like, we're really high tech, we're all on the cloud. Some push, we're a big name and we have all the depth of knowledge. Some push that we're a boutique and we're close knit. And I think Round Table is like all of those things combined.
Thank you.
With a good sense of humor too. I feel like if you can't laugh every day, you know, even when things are hard, because things get really hard in real estate, like all the time.
I just think it's a tough business, right? You're handling people's emotions. You're handling the biggest transaction that a lot of them have ever dealt with. You're handling things from logistics to marketing to contracts. It's really tough. And so I think it's part of our job to make our office and our relationships fun, because that doesn't also need to be a drag.
And it trickles down to the buyers too, because like you've been to any restaurant where you're like, or a retail business where you're like, man, the people here are so like they don't want to be here, you know, and it trickles down to the wait staff, and now the people getting their food are like, God, we're never eating here again. Like they're miserable and they're probably not getting paid well enough and they get treated like crap. And that trickles down to buyers where you're overwhelmed. And so what it does is my reviews come back after we close, and it's like, you know, Liz works so hard and she always is available because of them, and she always does it with a smile on her face. Well, you know, I used to be a teacher, and they used to say students are a reflection of their teacher. So my kids would take on my personality sometimes when I say my kids, my students. And so your realtors do take on a little bit of the personality of the broker too. So whoever you're hiring as a realtor for you, you need to look at their brokers as well. And for you to do that, you need to know what a broker is, first of all, what their job is. And then now that you know that, you look at who they're working for, and is your agent happy? You know, I was in a closing before I came to Round Table, and I didn't have the support that I needed, which made me miserable, which trickled down to my buyer, unfortunately, you know. And it's like, I'm doing the best I can, you know. And so when you feel like you're working with a realtor that's overwhelmed or unhappy, that's a sign that their brokerage might need some tweaking. So I'll just leave it at that. So Keith, I want to hear from you, like, what do you think makes Round Table different? And also I want to hear about like the term Round Table as well, why you chose that.
Yeah, I think when we came up with the idea of Round Table, it was to make sure that everybody's on the same plane. In other words, it's not like a dictatorship. So everything just doesn't come from the top. We wanted all the input from the realtors about ideas and things that they could share, that we could share with other realtors at the table. So we really like that name, Round Table. Everybody is sitting at the same table. Everybody has equal say. And I think that's paid off over the years. Right. I think it's very family-focused brokerage.
Yes.
So
I brought my kid with me to my interview.
Yeah. And we've had, I mean, even going back to like some of the original days at Round Table, I remember we sat around at an old office off Goodby's Creek, and one of our original agents who's still here with us today, I think she's been here, Courtney Drury, she's been here for like 11 years. She's basically changing her brand new baby's diaper right in the middle of the office. Yeah. And we're like, that's life. That's how it is. And we've heard other stories about other brokerages where, you know, you basically have to wear a tie and jacket kind of thing to go in, and it's just a little stuffy. We're very open and focused on family. I'm wearing
like made in China Jordans right now and bell bottoms. I feel like I can walk in gym clothes one day and look really fancy the next. It depends on the client I'm seeing that day, whether they know me or not. But it's very relaxed.
I like to call it blue jeans real estate.
Yeah.
Right? We handle $2.5 million contracts all the way down to $100,000 townhomes. And it's about getting your hands dirty, wearing those blue jeans, being able to, you know, pick up trash if you need to, and really get the job done. It's not about the pomp and circumstance. It's about meat and potatoes getting the job done.
Yeah. When you hire your realtor for your transaction, whether it's selling or buying, one of the questions that I would, as a buyer or seller, ask that person is, how long have you been at your brokerage? Because that's important. And what's the turnover like at your brokerage? You know, the agents stay. Like, how's the work life there? And that's something, like, as a buyer, I would never think to ask, but it's something I would ask now, because if it's a place that's like a revolving door, that's telling me that they're not happy, you know? And when you say someone's been here for 11 years, I asked that question in my interview. You know, what's the turnover like here? I want to be at a place where people want to stay and not leave. And I think you said even one person who did leave came right back. So, you know, I want to be where I wanted to make my move and stay for a long time. You know, you want to plant roots and grow and establish a relationship. And I want them to see me grow as a realtor. And I want you to, it's like when you get married, kind of, you're with a person who knows your life story. And at the end of your life, you've shared something with someone at the end of your life. But at the end of my career, I'll be able to say, Howard and Keith saw me when I was a baby realtor, you know, and that's
Howard
important.
says all the time, that's what excites us. That's what gets us going. It's not necessarily the money. It's seeing people grow, seeing people get very successful and enjoy what they're doing
The
with the
happiness, for
success.
sure.
A lot of times agents come in and say, this is a tough market, we're really stressed out. It's like, take a break. It's
Yeah.
like, take a vacation.
Yeah, I often say things like, at the end of your career, you're not going to know whether or not you made an extra $30,000 across an entire career, but you will remember that you broke mentally, that you literally had a time where you couldn't do this just because of the emotional roller coaster that this has. And so you do have to take care of yourself, and we recognize that at Round Table. I think there's a lot of brokerages that promote kind of this like fast treadmill life. I call it the sprint.
Yeah.
Right, we talked about the sprint.
Yeah, sprinting to burnout.
Right, sprinting to burnout. And I'd much rather have somebody be able to do this and support their family long term and be present for their events, because you're gonna miss if you make the wrong choice, you're gonna miss those milestones in your family's life, and I don't want that.
There was one time where I was having a hard time, and I called Howard, and he said, "You got to protect your melon." And now I find myself saying that to other people. I'm like, "You got to protect your melon. Like, it's not worth it. Like, not all money is good money, and not all clients are worth keeping." I will say, if I'm working with you as a client, it's because I really enjoy working with you. Like, I don't have to work with people, and I love being my own boss for that reason. But I mean, having your support in that situation was monumental to being able to make the right choice for me, which was to protect my melon. And I did fire a client. I've only had to do it once, and it was the right choice because the next day I had freed up time to actually help work with a seller and get a new listing the next morning.
Well, and sometimes it's not necessarily always a client's fault, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just the two don't mix. Yep, one personality trait doesn't match with another, and they needed a different real estate
Yeah.
agent, and you needed a different client.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
And
There's
I'm
nothing
not
wrong
for
with
everybody.
it. Nope, you're not, and neither am I.
Yeah. And that's okay.
He's for everybody. He's just
I'm for everybody. Keith Francis, 2024. I'm for everybody. But yeah, I appreciate you guys for that. It's not about money. I don't feel like I'm in a puppy mill, like running the rat race to beat everybody. We have some amazing agents at Round Table that I look up to, and that are top producers. But you would never know it. Like, everybody feels the same. Like, we're on a round table.